Hello and welcome to Team SI's Midday Roast. Today I have Lauren Faribault with us and Lanny Bird, and we're going to be talking about Instagram today. So now before we dive into this topic, I want to remind us here and everyone at home watching to go on to your Facebook feed, find our video, it's live right now, and share it.
You hear yourself?
All right.
Oh, no.
Great. Okay.
Man, I really don't like how I look on video.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay. Just,
Yeah, photos, video, doesn't matter with you.
Yeah. Great.
All right. So now that we're all shared, let's just dive in. So I think one of the things, me, because I work so much in, developing new business and on the sales side of things here at Team SI, that I hear is, well, why is Instagram important? Because people get kind of oversaturated in a way, like, well, I'm doing Facebook, and I'm doing search, and I'm doing the Twitter, and I'm doing, this. Why do I need to be doing Instagram now? So,
What's Instagram, first of all?
okay.
I mean, some people may not know what
That's
Instagram
true,
is,
yeah.
and how does Instagram as a medium differ from, say, Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat?
Right, I think Instagram is a lot more image heavy than any other platform. Instagram is all about making sure you have those vibrant images that can catch your eye, that really reflect your brand really well, whether that's through people or through products or through just your brand culture. It's making sure that you catch people's eye with those great images. It's very image heavy, image based.
So it's very image based. You have a different friend network a lot of times on Instagram. It's a different group of people that you're around. In general, I've found personally my Instagram network is probably a little closer, tighter knit than Facebook. In Facebook, I have a bigger audience. In Twitter, I have people I don't even know. I think people can make a decision on Instagram whether they're public or private. Me personally, my Instagram's private. Are you private?
Yeah, I'm private.
You're private. I think that's across the board. A lot of people are going that way on Instagram, unless you're trying to have a personal brand on there. Personally, people are doing it privately. Brands, of course, are going to have public.
Right.
I think the other thing about Instagram is there's not a difference between a brand page. Like Facebook, you don't have an account, you have a page. But on Instagram, you just have an account like anybody else. It's not a...
Right. You can classify yourself as a business, but there's really no distinguishing factor. Like you have
don't
a
get
little bit
additional
analytics,
functionality.
but it's not anything different. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only differentiator is like that there are verified brands
Right.
on Facebook, so that like for your big stuff or your big public figures, there is like a way to similar to Twitter where that those folks are verified, and that when Coca-Cola or Michael Jordan talk to you, is coming from them and not a fake account.
Yeah, and I think the other important thing to remember is Instagram is owned by Facebook. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So cool. So why Instagram? So Instagram is the second largest social media platform right now. It's Facebook is by far out in front. 70% of internet users are on 70 to 80% of internet users are on Facebook. Instagram still is in that 30% range, but it's still the second highest. It's overtaken LinkedIn, it's overtaken Twitter by far. Snapchat's still far behind. So Instagram has a heavy user base. So that's one reason to be on there. In general, from a esoteric discussion of the academics of mass communication and mass media, we classify something as mass media when it hits 30% of the audience. So Instagram goes beyond that. And really, historically, that comes, if you want to know, it comes from radio. Radio became mass media when it hit 30%. TV became mass media when it hit 30%. Cable became mass media when it hit 30%. Facebook, we said internet was 30%. Now Instagram is a mass medium. It's over 30%. So your audience is there, basically. That's why your audience lives there. But I think the question is, why is it different than Facebook, or how is it different?
Well, I think Lauren made a good point about how visual it is in nature. A general rule of thumb, even on Facebook, is that always accompany a post with an image when you can. But I think that's even more clear and present with Instagram, is that the image really is the driving factor. It's not any text. It's not any additional copy. It really is the image that has to drive the user's attention first, correct?
Yeah, and you really don't want a lot of text on your image. You want it to be about the image. The comment section in the caption, that's about text. But a lot of people just scroll through their feed and don't even really pay attention to that at all.
Right.
So it's really about the image. I think the big thing also that sets Instagram apart is the audience, because it's such a younger audience than any other platform, well, except Snapchat. But it's, your consumer audience.
Instagram grew up as a college audience, but now that's shifted in the last 2 years. I mean, 2 years ago, you talked to a college class, and they would say the first thing they did in the morning and the last thing they did at night was scroll through their Instagram feed all the way through it. It was ironic. Every year I go talk to college classes. But now they're on Snapchat that way. They look through all their snaps. But so Instagram has moved beyond, and so you're getting that 24 to 35, heavily shifted toward women, that young mom audience. And now I'm seeing the older mom audience, if we can classify them that way. I'm not going to point anyone out in that range, but 35 plus moms of teens have gotten down there to see what their kids are doing.
Right. I talked to my class Tuesday night about Instagram, and they showed that some of their moms were starting to get on. So college age kids' moms are starting to get on, but 90% of users are still
40-something moms.
Yeah. 90% of users are still under 35. So you're really making sure that you hit that audience with your Instagram posts.
And I think another important thing to note is just how much more active and engaged the Instagram audience is than other social media. Since I think the last time I looked at this figure, it was something like an Instagram user was about 4 times more likely to engage with a piece, or that your engagement rate was basically about 4% higher than any other social media platform, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, even the ghost, Snapchat.
Yeah, definitely. Instagram really is high, Snapchat's high, and then Facebook, Twitter's probably up there for active users. The average user drops. LinkedIn is like once a month, so it's really, really low. The other thing about Instagram, to me, is that you really have the brand image on there, because it's such a great rating platform. You don't get a ton of interactivity and motion and movement and through the audience, but you have a great way to explain who your brand is and tell who it is and tell the story of your brand using Instagram.
So I think the next step that we've decided that we need to create an Instagram account and an Instagram strategy for us. Let's talk about some objectives that a company or a brand might look at as far as the content they're creating for Instagram. How do you, when you're working with a new client and embarking on an Instagram strategy, how do you go about identifying those objectives and attaching some goals and some content and some strategy behind it?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it is going to have to do with who their audience is, and making sure that we kind of remembering that of their whole target audience, it is still that younger. So we need to think about images and content that's going to drive that younger audience to increase engagement. A lot of it is going to be showcasing people, whether that's clients, whether that's employees, whether that's owners, whether that's faithful customers. It's going to make sure that we're showcasing that people to really showcase that brand culture through Instagram.
Yeah, I think one thing from Lauren and I work with a lot of healthcare clients. From a healthcare perspective, there's 2 things that we're looking at. It's a culture thing, employees, so it becomes a recruitment medium. This is what it's like to work here. We're a fun place to work. Here's the activities we're engaged in. Here's how we take care of our employees. I think there's also patient satisfaction. Look at that. We talk to some clients, and healthcare clients are reimbursed on their patient satisfaction scores now, so it's real important to make sure that they're keeping their patient satisfaction. And I think Instagram is a way to communicate what we do to improve our patient satisfaction scores and the kind of quality care that you receive at this institution that can really be expressed through Instagram. So, that's just one example in the healthcare realm. Definitely, from an auto perspective, we have that same thing. Customer experience. People want to buy a car, or even from an equipment dealer, a tractor from someone you believe in, you trust, that you're going to build a relationship with, and you can express those kinds of values through the images of Instagram. So it's really, to me, a lot of a value based. It gives you that room to talk about values and engage on that level.
So, and I think that brings us up to our next topic when you're thinking about, after you've come up with that kind of initial, strategy. But to the heart of that, what are kind of the qualities of your business that you think are most suitable to be reflected on Instagram? I know for us as a company, we look at our use of social media a little differently. As far as for Facebook, we're a little bit more client facing. I know that for Instagram, it's a lot more about what the experience is like work at Team SI. So I know that we're trying to kind of impart our passion, our philosophy.
It's the Insta part of Instagram.
Yeah.
Right.
What's really happening day to day here at Team SI. We're going to talk about, whose birthday it was. Oh, they're out in the deck. It's Margarita Thursdays again. Or, those kinds of things at Team SI. And so you're looking for those instances at, for your business that you can illustrate and use with Instagram. And it could be, how with every oil change, here's how you do your 40-point inspection and what it really means.
Yeah.
Or, like when I get my oil changed, I don't think about it, but, my car came in full of grass from my kids' cleats, and it leaves, and the back seat doesn't have any grass because they vacuumed it. Showing the before and after difference. That's a cool little Instagram post that illustrates how something works. You're looking for those, so it's the values, it's the big things, but you don't illustrate it with the big pictures. You illustrate it with those little things that you do every day, that you consistently do, that show your company's values and what's important to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's another example, Lauren? Come on.
Well, I mean, I think it is about those spur of the moment things. You can plan out content, but when an event happens, you want to make sure and capture that. When it's somebody's birthday and they come back in for cake, we want to make sure that we get
That
them
happened to
eating
me
cake.
last
Yeah.
week, yes. They surprised me with the cake, and everybody's saying happy birthday and made me wear hats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure and capture those moments.
Yeah, I think another great example is, what I see on Instagram and my feed all the time is food, and especially like some really smart, restaurant and food brands are showing. What are they showing on Instagram? Fresh looking, delicious food. And I think like one of the things I keep seeing is how fresh it looks, like how it just looks like it just came out of the
I think
kitchen.
there's also a time thing for that too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to see fresh food at 10 to 11 when I start getting hungry and I start thinking about lunch.
Yeah.
And then all the local restaurants like, here's our special and here's what's going on today. You're seeing that fresh food.
Yeah.
So
And it looks like it just came out
Yeah.
ready for me to take a bite. Cool. So back to a little bit more of the grounded approach. One of the things that we always, that we strongly believe in is, having a plan and a strategy and for any campaign before it launches, and that comes back to the content calendar.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, how we, create a content calendar for Instagram and making sure that we're hitting, our this goal on a regular but not repetitive
Right.
manner.
You do want to make sure you have that balance of showing people, those employee testimonials or patient testimonials if it's healthcare, but also showcasing products and services. You want to make sure that if you've got a great product out there, whether that's a car or a tractor or whatever you might be selling, that you're showing people using it and you're showing how quality that product is, and balance that with those testimonials and those fun posts that are just kind of those spur of the moments were added in. But you want to make sure you have that calendar to make sure that you're consistently posting, because that's a huge part of your brand presence on Instagram is consistency.
the other thing a calendar really does is it makes sure we stay on strategy.
Right.
So it's like when we develop a strategy in a calendar, we develop a message mix and say, hey, we want to talk about this 3 times and talk about this once. If it's a higher ed institution, we want to talk about environment and academics, and we talk about giving, and we want to talk about applying. But what's the appropriate mix to reach your business goals for that unique audience that's on Instagram? And so we try to develop what that mix is and apply it through the content calendar. And really kind of be a little strict about that, but also allow those opportunities for that Insta fun on Instagram. So
Yeah, pretty pictures are great, but it's not enough, and I think that's the most common misconception I see, not just on Instagram but any social media.
But what we're really seeing now is Instagram is now becoming a transactional medium. They've added the shop button for ads, and so and across the board in 2016, 2017, what we're seeing, research shows us that mobile is becoming a transactional platform. It used to be mobile was an interactive platform, but people didn't fill out forms, they didn't buy things. but 25% of all digital transactions are happening on mobile devices. In 16, in 17, I really expect that to get near 40 to 50%. So we're seeing that happen on Instagram too. And I've actually, in my own personal use of Instagram, I'm clicking the shop now button. I'm going through looking at the product description, and I've made purchases in the Instagram window. And I'm not the core consumer for Instagram, so if I'm doing that, definitely, the 32-year-old fashionista is making, her dress purchase online.
Yeah, that's a great way to make, I think, e-commerce a lot more palatable to brands and retailers that have, struggled with, how do I get online and actually make money when I'm competing against this 800-pound gorilla called Amazon? Well, yeah, Instagram kind of levels that playing field as well as other social media networks.
I can see that. Cool.
And so what are some other tips as far as to make sure that your posts are getting their share of awareness?
I think one of the great things that Instagram just launched is the multi-photo post as well. So now you can kind of scroll through, and that really allows brands to feature more products, but to also tell a story with those images. So you can kind of see the before and after.
Yeah.
You don't have to do the collage, and you don't have to do multiple posts, but you can see it all in one post by just swiping.
Cool. Another tip I'll just point out that I didn't know about for a while until I started doing was adding a location.
Yeah.
And not only does that help for the user standpoint, it's extra information for them, but it actually increases your awareness and your ability to be seen by users.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is hashtags. I'm not really good personally using hashtags, but we had Shop with Laney, but outside of that, I'm not great at using hashtags. But there are some expert hashtag users that really show all the differences. And why should they be using hashtags?
Hashtags allow people to follow that hashtag and find your brand in another way that they wouldn't have normally if they're following a certain hashtag. So if they're following something related to clothes, if that's what you're shopping for, or even if you're shopping for a certain brand of car and you've hashtagged your post with that car, then it's going to help them find your dealership. And really with Instagram, you can load up on hashtags before it starts really showing a decrease in engagement, as many as 10. So you're trying to find those relevant hashtags that can really help your post be found with Instagram. And a lot of them are brand related.
Yeah.
Something just as simple as hashtag, Chevy if you're looking for a truck, or hashtag John Deere if you're trying to find a tractor, which is probably not the big Instagram audience, but still applies.
And it's also a great way to find, what they call user-generated content and curate that onto your own feed. When you train your audience to start using your hashtags that you've been diligent about applying to your posts, I think Bed Bath & Beyond or one of the kind of furniture retailers does a really good job about that, where all of a sudden, you started seeing people like post their own, they bought, a bedroom set or, some furniture, and then, it changed the way their living space, and so, they did a hashtag, thank you BB&B or something like that, and all of a sudden, that company had a lot of user-generated content that they could look at and curate, and then take the best out of, apply a little, caption, hey, thanks, this user, glad you love your new living room or your new bathroom or whatnot.
Another good example of that is Warby Parker. I got a Warby box yesterday of 5 pairs of glasses, and they give directions on how to take pictures, and they say, hey, if you post it and use the special Warby Parker hashtag, and make sure it's public on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, the company itself will give you feedback on which pair of glasses you should buy out of the 5 that you're trying on, which is a really cool way to get that user-generated content, and a really awesome way for a brand to engage with its fan, specifically through a core medium, a picture of how I look in their glasses, and it's an awesome idea. So I think anytime that your brand can ask someone to do something special and unique that's a natural thing to do. You're going to post and ask your friends, which pair of glasses should I buy? That illustrates what's awesome about that brand. It's also going to allow that brand to wade in and interact and comment. And they even have a promise that they say they're going to get back to you right away. So I would expect within 10 minutes you're going to get feedback from them on which pair of glasses that they like best. Which is a really, really cool way to engage with your media.
Yeah, I'm going to go order a Warby Parker box now because I want to. That's
it's free. It doesn't cost you anything to do it, so let's experiment.
I need a new pair of glasses, so I'm gonna try that out.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey Grace, do we have any questions?
Sorry, no.
All right.
Everyone's just listening.
this has been on Instagram for a while. Facebook, which owns Instagram, has just released their own kind of iteration of it, but it's the stories, Instagram stories. What do we think about that?
So first off, let's talk about why Instagram started stories. Instagram was seeing audience erosion to Snapchat. We already discussed that, how college students have already migrated away from Instagram. Not completely, but Snapchat's become the primary user. So Instagram added stories to prevent the further erosion. And basically the concept of Instagram story is a video or image that you can post, draw on, put words on, tag someone even, use a hashtag on, and it exists for 24 hours and then it goes away. So that's what a story is on Instagram, and also, as far as we know, on Facebook. We're still, it's been out for 24 hours, just about 36 hours, I think. So we're still experimenting to see what Facebook stories are. But that's how they are. So how is that different than a normal Instagram story?
How's Facebook?
How is a Instagram story different than a normal Instagram post?
Oh, because the Instagram story is going to be at the top of your news feed. It's going to go away after a certain amount of time, but it's kind of it's more noticeable because it is going to be at the top of your news feed when you go. So it's going to kind of get more reach and higher engagement probably.
The other thing that's really unique is I think about Instagram stories is I can see how many people who have viewed it.
Right.
And the same thing with Facebook stories.
Yeah.
It's like I know I posted, I was sitting in this office actually yesterday, my first Facebook story post was of Tim Whitley, the president and CEO of Team SI. I gave Tim the honor of being my first Facebook story. And I knew last night, I checked it, and 35 people had looked at it, and I got to see who those 35 people are.
Wow.
On a Facebook post or an Instagram post, I never know who it is.
Uh-huh.
But on a story, you know exactly who has looked at it.
This is different from the people that liked it, said something on it. This is just the people that saw it. Wow.
Yeah, so
I
that's
didn't
kind of
realize that.
informative and interesting. On both of those, you actually get to know. And that's, again, a feature they stole from Snapchat.
Right.
So it's there. The other thing is filters that they have, so you can apply filters across to Facebook or Instagram stories. So that's a little unique difference. So I think what we have though is almost story overload. Yeah, that's the perfect word for that. Because it's like, do we want to? I can't post a story on Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
It's too much. So stories is the medium for Facebook. I know there's different people I engage on Snapchat stories rather than Instagram stories.
Right.
So can Facebook stories live? Is it going to work? Is it? I mean, my personal concept is I think the Facebook audience is too old to understand or engage with stories.
Yeah.
I mean, college users use Facebook once a week. A lot of them are using Facebook as a medium to store pictures for free as their picture library, their photo library. I don't think the older audience, because really, I have to say, the Facebook daily user audience now is over 30, possibly trending to over 35 as Instagram grows. So is that audience going to get into the story concept?
And I'll tell you, from someone who, when I started Facebook, I was probably in my early 20s, and, it was very anything goes.
Me too.
There was a lot of my early 20s on Facebook that I definitely wouldn't post now. And I said, when I saw the story thing, I think I was just trying to send somebody a message, and it gave me the option to send a story. And I've tried to get a lot more conservative of what I put on my Facebook these days. Just
because your grandma's on there.
Yeah, my grandma's on there.
Exactly.
My
You
boss
don't want
is
to
on
talk to your
there.
grandma about
My
that.
wife's boss is on there. And so I was scared to death that I was gonna just do something and all of a sudden, somebody's getting fired. I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely. And that's one of the unique things. The reasons people like Snapchat is it disappears in 24 hours.
Right.
I don't have to worry about long-term consequences. I have to worry about what I'm going to think about this after I wake up tomorrow.
And my Instagram feed is a lot more curated. It's a lot smaller, and it definitely doesn't have that public feel that Facebook is starting
Yeah,
to
Instagram
do.
network.
we've all had Facebook a lot longer. So you've got friends from college, you've got friends that you went to high school with, you've got your grandma. It's a lot bigger audience, and you might not want to share everything with your Facebook audience as compared to your Snapchat audience.
Exactly.
Now, and the way people use Snapchat is you can actually not put it on your story. There's some people I know that just go through every time they post something, select who they want to see specifically and curate their stories that way. I haven't really seen people do that with Instagram, or I don't know of that happening with Instagram. So I know you can do that, and you can do that in Facebook too. I just don't see people using it with that precision,
Yeah.
creating a
Right.
precision audience for that. And then really probably the other question I have to ask about stories is, how does your brand use stories on Instagram or Facebook, or how does your company use stories on Instagram or Facebook? Is that, there are brands on Snapchat.
Yeah.
Are we seeing that happening on Instagram?
I mean, I think those story moments are those kind of Insta moments that we talked about earlier. It's capturing those moments through a story. Maybe it's not just a post that's just going to live on in your feed, but those kind of spur of the moment moments that you want to capture, it's going to be more likely to be as a story rather than a post.
Yeah, what is something like if you're launching a new product? Maybe it's like that initial like sneak peek,
Right.
or you're about to expand a new wing of a hospital or doctor's office, and you're wanting to have some kind of fun Insta story to share.
You get a
with folks.
special guest,
Right.
A mascot from a local sporting team shows up, so you get Insta fun. Or it could even be a normal thing. It could be, here's a regular ear doctor appointment, and here's how it goes, and here's the steps that we show, and we can show that through an Insta story.
Yeah.
Though for me, almost as a brand, if I want to take the time to create that, don't want it to go away in 24 hours. So I have that struggle with me of, what am I going to spend my time and input energy and
Yeah.
budget money on? Not really a story.
Right.
A story's going to have to be that fun, instantaneous thing more.
Yeah, and maybe it's a reminder of like an announcement that's coming the next day. So you've got kind of that day of build up where it's going to disappear eventually, but you can kind of remind people like, hey, be looking for our page tomorrow, whether that's Facebook or Instagram,
Yeah.
because we're about to make a big announcement. So maybe it's to build up an audience that way.
Yeah, I remember NFL
That's a good point.
teams when Snapchat first started to release public stories, like jumped on that with some really cool content of like the sidelines.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Nobody
I was
has
at a
access.
Saints game, the pregame huddle in the end zone, live Snapchat from in there from the Saints. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting in the stands above it and just saw just what happens. And I'm a big Memphis Grizzlies fan, and you see what happens in the locker room. You see the pregame warm-ups. You see who's hitting shots before and after the game on Snapchat. So those are great Insta stories feeds. How do we translate that not outside of the sports team's realm for my brand? Maybe here's what happens to your car as after it's taken back in the service aisle. Here's the way. Here's the dude that's changing the oil or the tire or working on it. Here's the way the dude washing your car before it brings it out. Those little things. Again, those little things that illustrate the value of your company's working stories, just like they do in Instagram.
All right. Any closing words of wisdom for folks tuning in who may be thinking about imparting on an Instagram campaign besides call us?
No, I mean, I think the other thing that we didn't mention really is the Instagram advertising abilities.
Yes.
Yeah.
That we would probably be remiss if we didn't say that. Instagram, again, like Facebook, it's not showing your chronological order feed anymore.
Right.
Like Twitter, it's curating a feed. It's showing you a feed of what it thinks you want to have. In general, the people that follow your brand and your Instagram feed are not people. Everyone's not going to see everything you post. So you're going to have to spend some money. The really cool thing about Instagram is it uses the Facebook advertising platform, which has a lot of different data if you know how you're using the Facebook Ad Manager correctly. And there's a lot of different data types that you can reach out. I mean, I was talking with a client this morning, and there's Facebook. Facebook has data on their platform that you can actually target people who are shopping in home. So we could actually put Instagram mortgage ads in front of that person.
Yeah.
A great way to build an audience and to engage. If you know who your shopper is, you can define who they are demographically. You can define their behavioral traits. You can target them with the data and the Facebook network. You can target them with an ad to become transactional with you over Instagram. So that's important to remember, is all the Instagram advertising types. So definitely if you're considering using Instagram, I would say don't just dip your toe in. Build a strategy to use it,
Definitely.
and then definitely include an advertising spend as part of that strategy to help grow your network and your audience.
Great. All right. Well, we thank you again for tuning in to our Facebook live stream of today's Midday Roast with Team SI. I want to thank Lauren and Lanny for joining me here today. It's been a fun conversation.
Yeah.
Great. All right. All right. Until next time.
Thank y'all.